All right, it's time to start cutting all this junk off here, so let's get at it. Welcome back to the channel. All right, if you were here for the first part of the trailer build, you'll see where we had took off this front cap and the piece of sheet metal on the tongue there, which revealed a whole lot of rusty tubing, which we already had pretty good idea it was bad, but when we pulled it off, you can definitely see where it was a whole lot worse. I did a little bit of cleanup off camera, and I was concerned about some of the other rusty spots and was curious if I was going to have to replace this whole upper section as well. So what I did is I went ahead and pulled out the pan for the top rack, so that way I can get a better idea of how bad some of the rust spots looked. When I cleaned it up, it actually wasn't too awful bad. You can see obviously where there's some holes in it, but other than that, that looked real bad on the outside. All these spots right here looked real bad. With the paint, it was all bubbled, and this side right here was probably the worst part of it, which is still not even that bad. So what I want to do, instead of replacing the whole thing or one big strip of it, I'll just take some sheet metal and patch it. So we'll cut out all these bad parts and we'll just insert a new piece in there, and then we'll do body work over it and you'll never even notice it. But before we get into doing all that, let's go ahead and let's get this tubing cut out of here, and we'll get that part made up, and then we'll focus on doing the patchwork here, and then we'll get ready to put our new pan on the inside. We got everything cleaned up, grinded down. So now what we need to do is, I got a 10-foot stick of 1x1 square tube in here. I've already done a rough measurement on what it is from this corner right here, doing the 90-degree radius all the way around, connecting it back here, and it's, I believe it was under 10 foot. I can't remember the exact measurement, but a 10-foot stick is going to be more than enough to do this whole bottom piece right here. What we need to do first is find our center line. So what we got here is 27 inches from here to here. Our center point is going to be 13.5, and that's going to be our center line there. So that way we can start from the center, go out, make our 90 degrees, and then cut off the excess of it. Go ahead and we'll measure out 13.5. And then, because this is a 10-foot stick, we are measuring 5 foot. Just to verify that it was 10 foot, there's 5 foot. Okay, so it's cut about a 1/2 inch long, so it's 10.5. So it's going to be fine. So now we're going to take and just kind of roughly eyeball this to the center, something like that. It ain't got to be exact necessarily. So we know that the bend for the radius actually starts right here. So what we'll do is we'll just mark right at that edge and then right at that edge. So how I'm going to bend these is I'm actually going to take and just make a whole bunch of cuts in the tubing, and then just basically you'll be able to just take it and just fold it right in. And then what we'll do is we'll just weld it up and then grind it flush, and then there'll be our bends. So we'll get this over to the table and we'll start cutting it out. So we got our stick over on the table. Now what we need to do is we need to find out the area of our bend and where it's going to go, because what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to take and make relief cuts in this and then just kind of bend it into place, and then there's going to be our angles. So we need to find out what our area is, so that way we ain't cutting too far into our material. There's a highly accurate piece of equipment that measures all that kind of stuff, and I've got my hands on it. So it's actually, I got it right here. It's this piece that was on the trailer. So I don't think you can get no more accurate than that right there than the actual material itself. So we're going to use that, and how we're going to go about doing it is, we know that right here is my mark because center line is right here. This is where the bend is going to start to make this angle, so that way it can attach to the rest of the trailer. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to line this up right here and then just kind of roll it, make a mark. So, and then we're going to have our area for our bend. And all this over here is just going to be extra. So, and then we can cut off whatever we need to at that point. So this section right here is where the bend's going to be. This is where we're going to make all of our relief cuts. It is roughly 22 inches in this section right here. So we'll transfer that measurement to the other end, and do the same thing, and then we'll make our relief cuts, and then we'll sit it on there, form it up, tack it into place where it needs to be, then we'll bring it back over and fully weld it up. Cutting with a Sawzall was working really good, and then for some reason it just kept stopping on me. So I moved everything over to the chop saw, which actually worked out a little bit better because it made quick work out of it. Didn't take nearly as long. All right, so we got our piece clamped down in here. I took this 3/8 flat bar and used it as a spacer and pulled it off of this lip here just a little bit, so that way when we put our sheet metal in there, and if we do any kind of trim piece like what was on it before, we'll have some space in there for that without having to cut around. And then all we got to do is just bend it over just like this. Take and mark it. We can take and cut that off. We'll tack everything up so that way it stays in place. Then we'll take it over to the table, weld it up completely, grind it off, and then we can actually come back and fully weld it into place. Well, that's gonna be it for me today. When we come back tomorrow, we'll get that tack welded up, then we'll get it on the bench, and then we'll actually fully weld it up completely and get it set back in there. So I'll see you in just a second. All right, guys, welcome back. Now it's time to get all this welded up. Let's go grab the welder and let's start tacking it up. So we got everything welded up. It's cooled down. I can already tell we're gonna have to do some more work to it because I can tell that it's already kind of, folded in just a little bit, but we'll get this grinded down. We'll get it put in place over here, see how it looks and see how far we're gonna need to spread them ends out. I'm gonna get this grinded up real quick and then we'll put it over there and check it out. All right, we got it setting up in here. And like I said, I already know that it's bolted in some. You can see it sitting right there on that side. And then you can see how far it's off over here. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and bend the ends of it back out and get them roughly about where they need to be. And if we need to trim a little bit off of the edge of it to get our gap right again, then we can do that at that point. So all right, so you can see a little bit better now right there as well. Still needs a little bit of tweaking, but once we get it centered up, we can get all that. So let's get it centered up and then we'll tack it into place and then we'll get our supports in. All right, so now we got our bottom brace tacked in. Now we need to do our support braces. So now I'll go get these braces cut out and then we'll tack them in. All right, guys, there you have it. We got it all tacked in right where it needs to be at. All right, we're gonna go ahead and end the video with that right there. I would like to have been a lot further. I'd like to have had it fully welded in and at least getting ready to put the sheet metal on there, but I got busy and I've drug this out for a lot longer than I wanted to. So we'll end it on that one. If you guys are enjoying the trailer build, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.